Hello. Happy Thursday, everybody. How is everybody doing today? Welcome to Veganish. I am your host, Dr. Monique, and through my platform and best-selling books, I help busy households enjoy healthy eating without impacting their hectic schedules. And on this show, Veganish, I share with you my journey toward a more plant-based diet, sharing with you my wins, my losses, my aha moments, and everything in between. So welcome. Ellis, how are you today?
I am doing great. I am so excited. Yeah, I love these Thursday shows because it's so much fun. We get to interact with you all. So this show is all about interaction. This show is all about you. So drop your comments, drop your questions, drop your shout outs, drop all that in the comment section because
That's
we want
right.
to interact with you. This is about you.
This is how we do it. If you guys are new, welcome. What we do around here, like you said, drop. Let us know where you are watching us from. Rep your city, your zip code, your state, your country. That's right, because we are global. We are international. We are worldwide. So please let us know where you're watching us from. And because sharing is caring, be sure to tag 1, 2, 10, 20 of your friends and tell them to come on in this house and fellowship with us. So at the beginning of the show, we kind of hit and miss sometimes, Alice, but I do want to remember to mention today that all the information on this show is informational. It's not meant to diagnose, treat, or prevent any or cure any disease. We want you to get this information to be informed, to be able to go back to your doctor and find out what works for you, what doesn't work for you. Because we're going to be talking about diet and a little bit kind of diseases that are affected. So I want to be sure to get that out there. So let's see. We've got Decatur, Illinois, not Georgia. We've got Chicago. So Midwest is representing. Thank you so much for watching. So, it's February. We're still in the middle of Black History Month. We're making Black History. I mean, it's Black History is 365. We don't need the shortest month of the year to tell us that, even though Ellis did explain how that came to be. But we wanted to talk a little bit more. We're still in American Heart Month, so we're going to get into that as well. But Ellis, what did you think about the Mary J. Blige concert this past weekend?
You mean the Super Bowl?
Oh, that little thing.
Dr. Dre and all that. I thought it was very very well. I was excited to watch it. And I didn't, and normally, if I'll be honest, there's a few half times for the Super Bowl I have been like, okay, it's time to get some snacks. It's time to take a break from watching the game. This one, I watched the entire thing. I thought it was very good. Even when 75 Cent was hanging upside down.
You were wrong for that.
He ain't 50 Cent no more. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he's inflation, right? Inflation. That's all I'm gonna say. But my girl Mary J.
He need to be watching. All I got to say is he need to be watching. He need to eat a more plant-based diet.
My girl Mary J. was holding it down for the 50 and up. I'm not going there with you, Ellis. She was holding it down for the 50 and up. And you mentioned snacks. Last week, we switched it up a little bit on you guys. Last week we did a cooking demo, some healthy Super Bowl snacks. So drop in the chat what you guys had. I'd love to hear, did you go to a more traditional route and just eat one of those 1.42 billion chicken wings that are eaten on Super Bowl Sunday? Or did you do something a little different? We have Winter Haven, Florida, New Jersey represent. B More is in the house. I love it. So so we are going to talk a little bit today about we said February is American Heart Month. Right. And today I want to talk a little bit about are you seeing red? And what is she talking about? So Ellis, if you don't mind, I've got this beautiful slide that Ellis is going to pop up, and it's got all these beautiful red foods on it. Now, if you follow me on Instagram or any of my social media, I'm always telling you to eat your colors, because those colors, just look at this slide. It's so beautiful. We think of February as the month of love, Cupid with his bow and arrow and all that. So I wanted to show you some red foods that are good for your heart in the middle of American Heart Month. So those chemicals, those colors rather, are caused by they're called phytonutrients, plant chemicals, basically, that are beneficial to us. And so you'll see here a variety. And this is not everything. There's a few that are not on here. But, kind of working from top left corner, we've got red onions, we've got beets, we've got red bell pepper, red wine, pink or red grapefruit, tomatoes, cherries. I mean, you see, red kidney beans, and even though it looks a little orange, it's actually red lentils in the lower right corner. All of these have a variety of health benefits, from number one, being excellent sources of fiber, which is good for your gut.
Mhm.
They have antioxidants. They lower your bad cholesterol, raise your good cholesterol. Beets help make nitric oxide, which
Mhm.
is a chemical that helps to relax the blood vessels, improving blood flow. And Ellis, we mentioned at the end of the other show that we were going to give a shout out to the fellas, because you have to meet people where they are and talk to them about what's important. Okay. And this is the grown folks part of the show.
Okay.
But nitric oxide is the chemical that helps improve erections in men. Okay.
Oh
That's
wow.
how, that's how Viagra and other medicines like that work.
And they hide it in beets.
So beets have, yes, they
That's such a cruel joke.
just beets, but for the purposes of this conversation, yes, beets help to increase the amount of nitric oxide, which helps to increase blood flow. And it's interesting. It says that just 2 servings a day, the benefits can last for 6 hours. So you might want to use that if you're planning your date night. I know Valentine's Day is past, but just some information there. Use that as you will. But, and then I do want to just, since we're talking about ED or erectile dysfunction, I do want to just encourage fellas, please don't just chalk that up to I'm getting old, or, I've got a lot on my mind, that my team isn't in the Super Bowl or the NBA playoffs or whatever. If you are having that problem, please take it as a sign that there could be something more serious going on. Because if you're having blockages or decreased blood flow to those smaller arteries, it could be kind of a precursor to the larger arteries, of what's going on in the larger arteries in your heart and in your brain. So go to your doctor, get that checked out. They may want to do some type of testing of your heart just to see what's going on, but just don't chalk it up to that. Okay. But yeah, so then the tomatoes have a plant chemical called lycopene, which has been found to decrease the risk of prostate cancer. We're still talking about the fellas here. So lots of health benefits.
Just a
Um,
just a just a quick
yeah.
side note on the tomatoes. It's not fresh tomatoes, right? So if you are a female, you want to give it to your husband, you have to cook them a little bit. They're really
Well, fresh tomatoes are good for you too, but I think what you're saying is that canned tomatoes, this is one of those times where we actually tell you canned is better. Usually we say, well, you want to watch
right.
canned foods because it can have a lot of sodium. Actually, canned tomatoes have more nutrients, more the vitamin C and so forth in them, because of how they're processed. So believe it or not, you want to look out, of course, make sure they're low sodium. But canned tomatoes, and that's why I keep a variety of tomato products in my house, from
Yes.
tomato paste to canned tomatoes to ketchup. All of it is in my house, because it's really a very beneficial
Yeah,
ingredient.
yeah. I don't want to poo-poo tomatoes because I love tomatoes. All right. So tomatoes are great. They're great in salads. They're great on sandwiches. They're great
So many
raw,
things.
cooked, whatever, spaghetti, all of that. Me and tomatoes, we gets down. But I was just talking about in terms of the benefits you're trying to go about in terms of prostate. So we had a prostate specialist on, and he talked about, hey, if you're just eating raw tomatoes, you're not going to get as much as a benefit as you would if you're eating canned or stewed
Mhm.
tomatoes. So you have to just make sure that if you're eating for your prostate, canned or stewed tomatoes to get more of that benefit versus the raw sliced tomatoes.
Okay, definitely. And
Rancho
so,
Cucamonga, that's Friday too. That's next Friday right there.
oh,
Rancho, that's
is
next
that what that
Friday.
is? Okay. Deborah said she did eat traditional for the Super Bowl, but she would like the recipe for the nachos. So, Ellis, were we able to post those recipes for
We
them?
were. I wrote an article. It's on blackdoctor.org. I wrote an
Okay.
article, and I'm going to throughout the show, during the show, I'm going to put the link to last week's show, the demonstration that we did. And then, but if you go to blackdoctor.org, I'll see if I can find the link while we're talking. But I wrote an article about the show with links to both the cauliflower recipe and the cheese sauce, as well as a link to the video to watch. So I will post that during the show if I can.
Awesome. Thank you. And then one more thing before we leave this slide, I want to just shout out red bell peppers, because people may not realize, but bell peppers actually have more vitamin C than citrus fruits do. And the other benefits of them is that they actually can increase your metabolic rate without driving up your heart rate and your blood pressure. So when we talk about increasing your metabolic rate, it's helpful for making you more efficient in burning your calories and can hopefully even lead to weight loss. So just remember those things. Not to mention they also have vitamin B6 and folate. So this is just a beautiful, I think, visual of those red foods. A couple of ones that didn't make the list were cranberries and watermelon, but you get the idea. All right. So,
Oh yeah, this is a picture that I took from my meal last night. I've eaten a rainbow. So that is green
Mr.
peppers.
Ellis.
That's sliced green peppers, orange, yellow, red, and I put a few poblanos in there for a little heat.
Is that really your food? That looks like something out of a magazine, Ellis.
No, that's really my food.
Is that somebody? Did you hack somebody's IG page? Is that really?
I did not hack the page, and this is the bowl. There's a little protein on there, but this is the bowl that I made. So that is red beans and grains and brown rice. There's my
That's beautiful.
peppers.
That really looks like something out of a magazine. That's gorgeous.
And I got some corn and some black beans there, and I cut up some tomatoes and onions and stuff. So I'm trying. I had a little protein. I had a little protein on the table.
But you're an example of what we talk about on the show. It's progress, not perfection. So you're
Right.
trying, you're making those changes, and it's going to add up. One more thing about beets, and I'll just say you said, why does it beets? But, and I'll be honest with you, I'm late to the beet game. I had a bad experience with beets as a little girl. I just thought they were disgusting. But in culinary school, I had to cook with them. And I was like, okay, it's not bad. So I'm working on, well, actually, I finished it, a recipe using beets as pasta. And it's gorgeous. And it tastes really good. Don't look at me like that, Ellis. Don't look at me.
You know what? And maybe it's a childhood trauma that got me and beets off on the wrong track. Because I understand.
You got to unlock the mindset.
I understand beets are like a super food for the heart, right?
Oh, they're wonderful.
That's what I understand. Like, and
They
there's like
are.
this. We don't have any endorsement from them, but there's like a gummy. It's called like Super Beets, and it's supposedly give you the same benefits, but it's a gummy that you can eat. I'm not sure. I think the fresh food is probably the best way to go versus gummy because they have to put all that stuff to make the gummy into it.
And studies have shown, especially with certain vitamins, like you're peeing that stuff down the drain. It's really better if you can get it from your food, because especially if you're taking more doses than recommended, it's just you're wasting. You have very expensive peas when it comes down. So, but yeah, I made my own spaghetti sauce, and so I'd be happy to share that, guys.
Okay.
When we get that kind of finalized, but yeah. So we are going to go ahead and dive into part 2 of what's in your diet. And we kind of started this right before the Super Bowl. So we're going to recap a little bit because we discussed 3 of the diets that pretty much got the side eye from us because, they had some benefits, but then we were like, but you're taking out all the really good stuff. So we talked about paleo, which was basically a return to the way humans are thought to have eaten, back in tens of thousands of years ago. So basically it's fruits and vegetables, things that you can eat.
I got just a quick question. Is that we're returning to what we ate tens of thousands of years ago. Wasn't the lifespan shorter tens of thousands of years ago? So why would we want to eat the same way?
That's a good question. But you have to remember too, we so many things have evolved. People would, we used to die younger because of things like infection, and we didn't have, sanitization and things like that. So, and then if you believe in that, maybe people were running from dinosaurs. I mean, it's just a lot of things. So, but yeah, I mean, we definitely life expectancy has improved for some segments of the population. But yeah, that you raise a good point. But the thought is in the GI tract, the digestive tract, that these foods are better, and that they didn't. There's some thought that the problems that some of us suffer from, like the gluten sensitivity and the diabetes and the obesity, some of that is due to a mismatch between what we're eating now and kind of what our bodies are programmed to eat. So that's kind of where that comes from. But good question. So yeah, so basically, this is more of a hunter-gatherer kind of diet. So you're not going to see things on here that came from grain, industrialization or farming. So that's why grains and legumes don't make the cut on this particular diet. You can benefit as far as some weight loss, improved glucose intolerance. But there's initially the thought that you can have some insomnia, can result in yo-yo dieting. And with all of these, or most of these, we don't have the long-term studies to know kind of what the long-term effect of these are. So that was paleo. Then we have keto, which was a high-fat diet, which was initially a medical diet. It was medically prescribed for children who had seizures, excuse me. So again, this is going to be a very low carb, moderate protein and high in fat. The problem with this diet, one of the problems, is that people hear high fat and they're like, oh, bacon, 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 and all that other stuff. And that's not quite what it's supposed to be.
I had my slab this morning.
Exactly. Oh, your keto diet, back up off me. No, the emphasis is supposed to be on the unsaturated fats, which are the healthier fats for you. But again, this takes away almost all fruits, most grains, legumes. Like I don't know how we're supposed to co-sign on that. And basically, the theory behind it is that instead of using glucose as fuel, you keep your body in a state of ketosis where you are using fat, which is an alternate fat, energy source, and that helps you to decrease your blood sugar, increase insulin levels, and lower appetite and lose weight. But again, when you first start it, some folks have like the keto flu for like 10 to 20 days, kind of like fatigue, headache, lethargy. And there's also, I think this is when you can have some halitosis, which is not good.
Ooh.
And you can also, the long-term studies are not there. Then we ended last time with the whole 30 diet, which is again kind of this is where you kind of wipe the slate clean. You eliminate everything for 30 days and gradually add back things, because this is more for people who have sensitivities, whether it's stomach issues, intestinal issues, skin issues, joint issues, and they're trying to kind of narrow it down and pinpoint what's causing it. This one, you kind of take all the bad things out, or what I'll say is you can eat some moderate amounts of meat, seafood, eggs, some fruits and vegetables, and you would eliminate things like dairy, alcohol, grains, and added sugar. And so the benefit of this, again, is kind of helps some people narrow down or figure out what's bothering them. But I would definitely recommend, if you're going to be doing any of these diets, to please consult your physician first, because lots of things we don't.
This whole 30, I'm gonna give it to you in layman's terms. This is like a cleanse. Okay.
Yeah.
This is like a mini cleanse.
For 30 days.
You just cut all of that other stuff out, let your body reset for 30 days, let your body kind of flush all that out and see where you are. And if you're feeling better, you might want to, gradually and keep some of those things out of your diet, and notice when you start adding things back, how that your feeling is adjusted. And then, this is not making me feel good. This is not making me feel good, because it's hard to understand what's not making you feel well when you have it all mixed in one pot. But if you add it back gradually, you say, oh no, I didn't feel too well from that. If your body's rejecting it, you might want to just keep it out.
Yeah, and keeping like a food diary or a log somewhere in your phone, some app. I'm sure there's probably a whole 30 app out there will probably help you kind of organize that as well. So that was what we talked about before. So we're going to finish up the discussion with 3 other diets, one of which you already know about, but this one is called the DASH diet, which is the dietary approaches to stop hypertension. So basically, it is a healthy eating plan designed to help to basically prevent or treat hypertension, right? We know hypertension is a risk factor for stroke and heart attack and kidney failure, all kinds of bad things. So this came about after looking at, well, how can we control that? Because Americans, on average, eat way too much salt.
Well, we love salt.
Way too much salt. The recommended amount is 2,000 milligrams, roughly in there, maybe even less, 15 to 1,800. So about a teaspoon or so of salt a day, we blow that out the water, especially when you look at all this processed food, because salt is a preservative, right?
Yep.
So that's another reason why we try to get you to eat more unprocessed or low processed food or packaged foods, because that's going to have a lot of sodium in it. So things that you can eat on this diet should sound real familiar to y'all, because it's the kind of stuff I talk about all the time. But it's your vegetables, fruits, whole grains, fat-free or low-fat dairy if you're vegetarian, fish if you are pescatarian, poultry if you eat everything, and then of course your beans, nuts, fats and oils, and some sweets. What you can't eat would be the fatty meat. So when you go get those steaks and you see all the fat, the marbling, because and I'm in culinary school. One of the things chefs like to say is fat equals flavor, right?
It does. That's fact.
But you got to do that balance, right? So this is what this is speaking to, not having those fatty meats and full fat dairy, products. So skim versus or 2% versus whole when you milk products.
So if you're going to eat beef, that's going to eliminate ground beef. That's going to it's going to
You want lean.
eliminate anything ground. So you got to pull
Yeah.
all of that out if you're going to eat beef. I would eliminate ribeyes because they're very, very fatty, marbled. That's why they always taste the best because they
All
got so
that
much
fat
fat
in
in it.
it. If you
So
can see it, if you can see the fat in it, you don't need to
you can
be
see
eating
it. So if it's got a marbling, which is
it. Mm-hmm.
delicious, but it's not good for you, cut that out. So if you're
And
going to eat
brisket.
beef, I would say stick to lean, sirloin, and fillets, things of that nature that are very, very lean, tender, but have very low fat count. So those, if you're going to eat beef, but I
If
would
you're
say
eating meat, right? If you're
if you're a
vegan or
DASH
vegan,
diet,
you
lay
don't
off.
have to worry about that.
Right.
So the benefits, you're going to see a decrease in blood pressure. Obviously, this is what the end goal of this type of diet is. Also lowering your bad cholesterol, which is your LDL,
Right.
which is the one that kind of clogs up the arteries and increases stroke and heart attack risk. May help to improve gout because you're not eating a lot of the foods that can trigger a gout attack, although seafood can. So that's probably about a tie there. May help prevent diabetes, and research actually shows that this is helpful. But some of the drawbacks is it does require meal planning. So because you're kind of watching calories and servings, so if you're kind of a fly by the seat of your pants kind of person, this may be a little challenging for you initially because of the fiber that you're taking in. You may have some gas and bloating as your body gets used to that. And then if you have lactose intolerance or nut allergies, some of that might be difficult to navigate, figuring out what you can eat.
Now,
So,
correct me. So, two things I'm going to say real quick. One, just because it's not salty doesn't mean it doesn't have salt added to it. So you have to make sure you understand. Same thing with sugar.
mm-hmm.
Same thing with sugar. Just because it's not sweet doesn't mean it doesn't have added sugar. All right. Number two, nuts. You could overdo eating nuts. Is that right, Doc? That's more of a
You
question.
can in certain way because nuts do have fat, so you definitely want to watch it. And actually, Brazil nuts, I think it's Brazil nuts. They don't recommend that you eat more than like 2 to 3 or maybe 6 of those, a very small amount, because they're very high in something called selenium, which is gosh, I'm blanking.
Mineral.
Mineral. Thank
It's
you.
on the element. So it's on
Yes,
it's
that
on
you need
the
it
periodic
exactly.
table.
But you want small amounts of that. So you can, just like anything, you can overdo it.
Right.
But just remember too that nuts would include nut butters. So just remember that.
Right.
You can do almond butter and things like that. And then one thing I wanted to say about salt before we leave this is if you're trying to just kind of reset, like we talked about the whole 30 diet resets, you can actually reset your salt barometers, so to speak, by eliminating that. And it takes about 2 weeks or so before that actually kind of flushes out and resets. And then you'll notice if you start back eating the food you were eating before, you'll be really salt sensitive. You're like, oh my God, this is so
Yep.
salty, because you've just kind of gone without. So, but yeah, definitely read those labels because, and this is something, and I particularly encourage you if you're thinking, oh, it's vegan, it's okay. Not the case, because a good friend of mine introduced me to some vegan meat replacement. And I was like, oh man, it was a sandwich. It was like roast beef, and like if you wanted to make those kind of sandwiches, the sodium content was astronomical. I was like,
Right.
oh my God. Like,
Right.
so yeah, you just because it's vegan or organic or natural, every descriptor kind of stands on its own 2 feet, and you want to make sure you're evaluating each component.
Right.
So that's the DASH diet. And then that's going to take us into the Mediterranean diet.
This
So
is a
this is
good one. This is a good one.
this is a one that I think a lot of people, when they think of a healthy diet, they may not know the name of it, but this is kind of what they're thinking of,
Right.
because this is a hard, healthy diet based on foods found in countries near the Mediterranean Sea. So things like countries like Greece. So what you can eat. So again, whole grains, vegetables, legumes, fruits, nuts and seeds, herbs and spices, olive oil, your seafood, fish, dairy, and poultry in moderation, and red meats and sweets occasionally. So this diet, I think, is, some people say, yeah, I can do that. I don't have to have a steak every day, but I
Right.
do want one once a month or a special occasion. What you don't eat on this diet, though, are eggs and butter. So
Mhm.
that can be difficult come breakfast time, right? So definitely want to find ways to work around that. But we've talked about some great egg substitutes on this show, so you have options.
Can you do egg whites?
Probably, it's a good question. They have eggs in here. It's just kind of cut. But I would,
Is it
if you,
generic?
I
Yeah.
would think that if you were gonna do egg whites in moderation. But yeah, that's a good
Mhm.
question. But the benefits of this diet are going to be, again, to prevent heart disease and stroke. And this too has scientific studies that support it. The drawback, some of it can cause some weight gain. You may have lower iron levels and lower calcium levels because of the dairy that you're not getting as much of. So those are just some of the highlights of those. And then the last one, which you all are well versed in by now, is it's just a regular vegan diet, right? No animal products. You can eat anything that didn't have a mother, as some people describe it, and you just don't eat anything that is animal based, and that includes insects like bees, which make honey. The benefits are, again, science. Science. We have, yes, for science. Science proves that it's beneficial. It's animal free. So if you don't want to, if you're cruelty free, that would be important to you. It's better for the environment. However, it can be expensive, may require a little bit of planning. Some folks can find it intimidating just because, really, I think because it's unknown or it seems foreign to some people. Um, Strict vegans who have never had any meat can develop vitamin B12 deficiency, sometimes vitamin D, iron, zinc, and calcium deficiencies. But again, there are so many ways to get those and other foods that it really can be remedied quite easily. And it may be hard for some people to maintain. So what do we think about? So all of those diets, like we've kind of done a whirlwind uh, dietary tour, and we talked before about how the first three seemed kind of eh. What do you guys think about the Mediterranean and the DASH diet? And do you have any personal experiences with those, or is this something that you think you might, with your doctors, okay, try it out, or what? What are your thoughts out there?
Well, while we're waiting on that, I will say that I've had the Mediterranean diet suggested to me for cholesterol, right?
Mhm.
Maintenance, as well as a DASH diet. So both of those have been suggested uh, as a way to, because I've been diagnosed with high cholesterol,
Mm.
not on any medication, because my good cholesterol HDL is always pretty high because
Okay.
I eat um, I eat well in terms of those to get the good stuff, so the fiber and all that stuff. So I get and I get a good dose of good cholesterol, and I keep in shape. So all my other numbers are good. So they're not overly concerned about the cholesterol. So, but
Good.
you have to make sure that you're doing so. But I have a family history, so I understand I have a family history of high cholesterol. So my body has a propensity uh, to develop that, and so we have to make sure that uh, you're doing what you can, eating those foods and keeping a lifestyle, maintaining a lifestyle that can help maintain and keep you off medications. You know.
As much as possible, definitely. So Rihanna says she wants to try it, especially Dash Diet. Yeah, I think that one is a good one, especially if you do have hypertension or are prone to it. And no, we're not talking about the Mrs. Dash diet. Just want to clear that up.
Oh, Miss
But,
Dash is a great salt substitute when you try if you
but
try to
this
get
is
off salt. Miss
But
Dash,
this is where we want to make sure people know this is not, related to that. And just real quickly before we wrap up, I do, every now and then I like to bring up nutrition in the news. So just today, I found this article, it sounds like a broken record, that says changing your diet can add up to 13 years to your life. And they actually mentioned in this article that the Mediterranean diet has been ranked. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Has been ranked like the healthiest diet, like 5 years running in the U.S. News and World Report. So I was like, wow. So that's actually again, I think a little bit more widely accepted by people. And but yeah, this article just talks about like what we've been saying about minimizing the red meat, processed foods, and having more of the of as whole grains and unprocessed foods as possible. So yeah, so the Mediterranean diet, which won best diet 5 years in a row, is just a way to again incorporate more plants into to your diet. And then tied for silver was actually the DASH diet. So I thought that was really timely information. And then the flexitarian diet, which we kind of is the other term for vegan-ish, right? Which encourages being vegetarian most of the time. So just wanted to tie that all together.
So,
So
Doc, before we go, we have a surprise for everybody that stuck with us through the entire show. So we got
I
a little
love
surprise for you.
surprises.
So I'm going to bring up the surprise here.
Oh, what is it? What's the surprise? Oh, what is that?
I'm good. Hey, so listen, it's good to see you again.
It's good to see you too.
All right, so listen, before we go, I'm starving. I want to eat something, though. But so I'm thinking one of these fast food joints. But wait, you're vegan or something, right?
Actually, I'm vegan-ish.
Vegan-ish?
Yeah.
Okay. What is vegan-ish? What is that?
So vegan-ish just means that the majority of my food comes from plant-based sources, but every now and then I'll eat something from the animal world as well.
Okay, but there's gotta be a catch.
No, there's no catch. And in fact, let me share 3 simple tips to get you started on your plant-based or vegan-ish journey.
It's only 3 tips?
Just 3.
3. Okay, all right, let's go. Let's hear it.
So number 1 is mindset. Just like any journey, you want to set your GPS towards success. So instead of thinking how hard it is or what you can't do, change your thinking to include ways you can make those changes.
Okay, change your mindset. All right, my mind is slowly being changed. So, all right, what's number 2?
Number 2 is identify your why. Why do you want to be more plant-based or veganish?
So I love fast food, but I love my body more, and I know I should eat better. So that's my why.
Well, there you go. And hey, look, I'm not here to judge, but think about a car. If I gave you an expensive car, would you put just any kind of gas in it and expect it to perform up to its peak performance? No. So you want to treat your body the same way and give it the best fuel that you can.
Right. Okay. That's a very good point you made there. All right, I got it. All right. So what's the last one then?
So I think the last one will really help you because it's keep it simple. Start with just 1 day a week making substitutions with more plant-based than animal-based.
Just 1 day a week?
Just 1 day. It's a journey, and you'll get there to your destination, but you just have to make small changes at a time.
Okay. You know, this sounds... I think I'm convinced. And guess what? You know what today is, right?
I think it's
Monday. So we make this a meatless Monday.
I like the present.
All right, let's go then.
Let's do it. Wow. Well, thank you, Alice, for sharing that.
And that was thank you for that, May. Yeah, so that was in her Black Doctor acting debut. I know she may have done other things, but that was in her Black Doctor acting debut. We shot
that was so much fun. It was shot on location in Miami, if you couldn't tell, and I had a ball. So anytime you guys want to do that again, you know my number.
We got you. So that was so much fun. It was a partnership with Toyota, and they've been great partners. And so when they said we need somebody to talk about healthy eating, I was like, I got somebody for you. And so I'm glad all that worked out. But I do want to say out loud, Rihanna, I hope I'm not mispronouncing your name. When you're asking, do we recommend the Mediterranean? I'm saying personally, I would recommend the Mediterranean because that's what's been recommended to me, and it fits more with my lifestyle. However, as we always say on this show, please consult with your physician before you start any diet, because any dietary change could throw your body off a little bit. And if you have some conditions that are supported by another diet, please make sure that you don't do anything, that you check with your physician before you start any type of diet. You ask your doctor, hey, do you think the Mediterranean diet would be good for me? And then they can say yay or nay based on your lab work. So please make sure you check with your doctor.
Yeah, definitely, because your doctor would take into account your personal history, your family history, what are the medications you're taking, all kinds of things. So we are on this show to inform you and to speak in generalities. But when it comes to specific what's right for you, please consult your physician.
Right. Because if you notice, all those 6 diets that we put on screen today, they all have drawbacks, right? So there wasn't one that was perfect. So just make sure, find the one that best fits you, your health situation at the moment, and then your lifestyle. And so find that one that's work for you. But also make sure you add exercise,
That's right.
rest, and lower
Sleep.
stress.
Get you sleep. People who sleep, that's we should do a show on that. But yeah, I'll just end by saying sleep, meditation, whatever you do to kind of reset that brain every day, please do it, because you're actually taking years away from your life by not getting adequate and quality sleep. So, but we're going to get out of here. Ellis, I was going to say maybe next week we could do a viewer's choice. So if you want to, I think it's time for a viewer's choice. So how about this, guys? How about you want to give them like a cutoff, say they can let us know between now and say Tuesday what they want to hear about?
Yes, let us know by Tuesday of next week what you would like us to talk about
on our page.
Your veganish diet journey. We just talked about 6, so we talked about that. You want to talk about foods that help lower cholesterol. You want to talk about foods, so we can talk about anything you want to talk about. So this is a viewer's choice show.
Right.
Thank you.
We want to bring value to you guys. And so we want to know what's on your minds. And so if you have questions we can answer, then let us know. Oh, thank you so much, Rihanna. I appreciate that so much. And for everyone for joining us. And if you're watching this on the replay, thank you as well. Fastest 30 minutes of my day. I keep telling you.
Help with your belly. Okay. Oh yeah. So we could talk about some gut health, ways to lower that. There's 2 types of fat in your belly area. There's that subcutaneous fat, right? Mm-hmm. And then there's this
visceral
fat.
So there's 2 types of fat. That's the one that kills you.
The visceral fat is the one that kills you. So
we can talk about that.
Let's talk about belly and getting rid of that visceral fat, because we all got that, because we know waist circumference is a big issue in terms of waist circumference is a big health indicator as well. So let's talk about that next week.
Great job, Pam. You got it. All right, ladies and gents, we're out. Bye. See you next week.
Thanks, Deborah. We'll see you next week.